Hello, and welcome to the Check In Chat podcast. We've checked into the pit stop, and now we're having a chat about the amazing race. I'm your host, Matt, and this is a recap retrospective series where we're going to be looking at the amazing race, past, present, and international. Today, we're going to be getting going the inaugural episode 1 of season 1, the race begins, and I can't wait to get into it. Season 1, of course, we know it was its bare bones. It's very different to what we'd see today. It was getting into the rhythm of things, but it's still a really good season for many different elements. Those who have joined more today look at season 1 and think, oh, I just don't like it, but it's iconic. Season 1 is iconic, and I can't wait to get into it. The episode, the cast, everything. So let's get straight into it in the episode. And we start off with scenery of New York and Phil on top of a building, a very youthful Phil. And then we get a shot of the teams in the bus as it pulls up to Central Park, and we get introduced to them very quickly. First up being Frank and Margarita. They are a separated couple with a baby daughter from Queens, New York. Frank is 30 and Margarita is 28, and they're hoping to reconcile. Frank says that it's pretty much the crossroads in their relationship, while Margarita says that they haven't been living together for the past 10 months and it's going to be important for them to reconnect. Next up is Paul and Amy, and they're both from LA. Paul is 32, Amy is 27, they're recently engaged and have just started living together. Amy says that she thinks the race will have a huge impact on their relationship, while Paul thinks it's either going to make them stronger or they're going to come back on separate planes. I know which option that will be. Next up is Kim and Leslie. They're from Baytown, Texas. They're teachers and roommates. Kim is 28, Leslie is 27, and Phil makes a point of noting that they are single. Kim says that both of them are mentally prepared to handle anything that comes along for them in the race, while Leslie says that she's just from a small town in Texas where what concerns her most is dying. Like CBS will have you die on the race. I get where she's coming from here, but yeah, CBS won't let you die. Well, just yet. Next up is Lenny and Karen, and they are dating from New York City. Lenny is 33, Karen is 30, and they're thinking about marriage. Lenny says that he wants the money to buy the ring that she deserves, while Karen says that Lenny knows how she's a difficult person. She's very competitive, very aggressive, and he has to deal with that on a regular basis. And we'll definitely see that. Next up, team number 5 is grandparents Dave and Margareta. They're from Rockwell, Texas. Dave is 65 and Margareta is 60, and they've been married for 40 years. Margareta says that Dave tends to be a little bossy, and it's not in her nature to take orders very well. While Dave says that his wife is an amazing lady and she can do anything she sets her mind to. He just says all these good things about Margareta. He loves her so much. Team number 6 is Matt and Anna. They're from Simsbury, Connecticut. Both are 28 and they met and married in the army. And Anna says that she comes from strong-minded women in her family, so she's highly strung and bossy, but Matt likes that. While Matt says that Anna's really smart and she's got a good head on her shoulders, and she never trusts his instincts. Team number 7 is Joe and Bill. They're from Laguna Niguel, California. They're dubbed as life partners. We can tell the time here. It's the time, CBS, still going through it. We know. Joe is 50 Bill is 47, and they call themselves Team Guido because of their dog. And Bill says you don't have to be the strongest person, you don't have to be the fastest, but you do need to be the smartest one. We'll see how that turns out with one in particular decision in the race. Next up is Pat and Brenda. They're working moms looking for a once-in-a-lifetime adventure. Pat is 43 from Landenberg, Pennsylvania, and Brenda is 42, originally from Elkton, Maryland. And Brenda says that we represent the women out there who love their families and love their husbands, but don't mind being themselves. While Pat says that their husbands weren't real crazy about them going on the race, but they made a pact and they stuck with it. Next up, team number 9 is best friends and lawyers Rob and Brennan. Rob is 27 from Minneapolis, and Brennan is 29 from Rochester, New York. And Rob says that they've grown up with silver spoon lives, with good educations and good jobs. But it doesn't really matter when you find yourself hungry in the streets of Bangladesh. We then get team number 10. It's Nancy and Emily, our mother-daughter team. It's our conservative mother and adventurous daughter from Waco, Texas. Nancy is 46, Emily is 21. And Emily says that they're very different, that she's a get up and go girl and kind of on the spot. While Nancy says sometimes she doesn't look before she leaps. That's Emily here. And she thinks she's going to get them into a situation that Nancy's not ready for. We'll definitely see that. And the final team is fraternity brothers and best friends for 17 years, Kevin and Drew. Kevin is 34 from Bayonne, New Jersey, and Drew is 35 from Staten Island, New York. And Drew says that Kevin and him have done zero preparation for the race. And Kevin tells them that they're ugly Americans, and there's no question about it, they're potentially going to cause an international incident. As they stand by the fountain here in Central Park, we have not really much to go on about them, so we of course have the bios at CBS put up on CBS.com. Now, these bios are famously not the best, with some random questions, and so I want to go through them in a segment I'm going to call the Biohazard Report. And this is the Biohazard Report, where I will break down all the cast's bios. Now, how this is going to work is they had like a short paragraph which actually got some decent information about them, which I really liked. So I'm going to talk about the bits I liked from there. Then each individual contestant had 10 questions, all the same. And I'm going to give a point to each answer that I liked. If I didn't, they get nothing. Sometimes they get half a point, but I'll get onto that. And at the end, we'll rank to see who has the best bio in my eyes and who doesn't. Now, I will be going through most of the answers, not all the answers, because that will take forever to get through all of the answers to the bio questions. So what we're going to do is I random.org the order that we were going to go through with them. And first up is Pat and Brenda. And so we find out that they met at work when Pat introduced Brenda to her future husband. They've gone on many backpacking trips together to give them a break from home and work. Pat is more the creative thinker and is not afraid to ask for what she wants, while Brenda is more laid back and likes to be organised. So from the questions, here's my takes from them. I gave half a point to Pat here first. Her comfort item is a waterbed. No, thank you. No one should ever have a waterbed. It's not relaxing. It just makes you jiggle. But she gets a half point for hot tub. I do love a good hot tub, so she gets a point there. favorite TV show is the Weather Channel. There's not a TV show, it's a channel, but why would you just want to watch the Weather Channel all day? Her favorite movie is Casablanca. Okay, that's an interesting choice. She obviously was like Indiana Jones. I don't even know if that was on at the time, but she likes Harrison Ford, favorite actor. Susan Sarandon, I do like that answer for favorite actress. And then both her and Brenda like the blues. They like blues music. We then go to Brenda, and her hobby that she would miss the most would be working out of a gym. I just what takes me from this because I just wouldn't have seen Brenda as someone who goes to the gym regularly, and I know that's me just being maybe slightly ignorant to just looking at her, but it's like as someone who works and is a housewife, I just don't know, and like she has kids as well, so sometimes it's harder to find time to go to the gym. But work, Brenda. Her favorite TV show, she says, Lonely Planet and Survivor. Now, a lot of them say Survivor. I'm just going to preface here. I do not like Survivor. I have quite a hatred for Survivor. Like after like the early seasons I liked, but then like after 21, it just went downhill. I'm sorry. So we're gonna get to my dislike, heavy dislike for Survivor. And if they put Survivor, they will not get any points. Then favorite movie, Joe versus the volcano, which I had to look up again because I forgot what it was, and it's a funny movie. But didn't get a point here for me. Kevin Spacey, favorite actor. How times have changed. Famous favorite actress Meryl Streep. Good choice there. And Brenda, alongside the blues, just put world music. What's world music? I don't know. But their score, now I score them for each answer for a possible of 20, and Pat and Brenda get a score of 7.5. So that's the score to beat. Next up was Joe and Bill, and they were introduced by a mutual friend at a Utah ski resort in 1986. They've had extensive traveling and lived in Paris for 2 years. Don't worry, they tell us about it a lot, especially when they get to Paris. And they both have very similar answers here. They both will miss going snow skiing, watching Survivor. Their favorite movies, some like it hot. It's interesting. Um, Joe's favorite actor is Dustin Hoffman. Okay, that's the one I wouldn't think of. But his favorite actress is Meg Ryan. I do like that. Late 90s Meg Ryan was peak Meg Ryan. We then have his favorite music is piano lounge music. Like I can just see them like at a cocktail bar, with martinis, just living it up. For Bill, his favorite actor is Jimmy Stewart. I don't know if it's the Jimmy Stewart I'm thinking of, but work. Favorite actress, Grace Kelly. Snaps for Bill there. And he also likes contemporary jazz. Joe and Bill got a total score of 8 points on me, so just beating out Pat and Brenda. We then move on to Matt and Anne, and they met just 6 years before. They had a road trip from Washington State to New York, a long trip, and they survived it, so they must really love each other. Matt is very hyper and energetic, while Anna remains calm and efficient. They both said that they'd like to receive a letter from nobody. I would sort of be the same from that. I think I would just be too emotional to wanting to get a letter or a message from someone. Yeah, I think it would just distract me too much. Um, Matt's comfort item would be music. I do like occasionally like getting down to the music, so that's something I would consider. He says his favorite TV show is That 70s Show, which is sort of around that time. They move Fast Times at Ridgemont High, or that takes me back. And his favorite actor is Nicolas Cage. I would agree with that. He gets a point for that. That's a good answer. And another one it says Meg Ryan. And they both like alternative music. I'm still unsure exactly what alternative is because there's a lot of different interpretations for that. But work. Anna's comfort item would be a heavy blanket, or I like a good thick blanket to get warm at night. So I like that answer there. And she likes hobby that she'll miss the most that she likes is swimming. I'm someone like that. Like I hadn't swam for quite a while, and then I went to a spa and went swimming, and I quite enjoyed it. And every now and then I do like to go to the pool. Favorite movie, Gladiator, and her favorite actor is Tom Hanks. Another Tom Hanks. So Tom Hanks was very at the time then a lot of movies very prominent, and her favorite actress is the Jessica Lange, iconic. And so their total score is 10. They're at the top of the leaderboard. Well done, Matt and Anne. They're good bio. Well, decent. They got half the score. Next is Nancy and Emily, and they enjoy traveling extensively together. But they've had a few disagreements along the way. Nancy's good at planning and very considerate of others, while Emily's impulsive and competitive. So Nancy's comfort item would be an electric blanket. Ooh, I like that one. Well, I don't actually. I do like it, but I don't like it in a way because I do like a blanket, but I don't want to be too hot. Like if it has different settings, then yes. She likes to leisurely read. I'm I'm not a big reader, but I like to read it in. I like reading in chunks. So it might be like if she's like cleaning and just have a break at home. I can imagine it in the garden just reading a novel. Her favorite movie is Gone with the Wind. Fabulous. Her favorite actor is Harrison Ford. Another one there. Meryl Streep. We get a few Meryl Streeps. Approved there. Iconic Meryl Streep. Favorite music is Broadway show tunes. I can't complain about that. Who doesn't love a good show tune? Next up's Emily, and one of the questions they ask is what Sunday paper you read the most often? I don't know why, and they say the local papers, but Emily says none, and that is the correct answer. I don't think Sunday papers really exist anymore, apart from some of the main national newspapers. But no, no. Their favorite movie, another one. She went the same Gone with the Wind here. Uh, favorite actor, Sean Connery. Ooh, James Bond himself. And her favorite actress, Catherine Zeta-Jones. I can't really remember anything Catherine Zeta-Jones is in on top of my head, but I know that it must not have been interesting. And for her favorite music, she goes all over the place. She likes oldies, rock, old country, and alternative. She goes all over the spectrum. So their total points for me, I gave them a 9.5. Well done there, but not enough to beat Matt and Anna. Next up, team number 5 is Paul and Amy. And so when Paul saw Amy bartending in a Hollywood club in 1999, it was love at first sight. A friend introduced them, and they've been together ever since. They're both competitive and love a good challenge. And Amy is well traveled and determined, while Paul is street smart and physically fit. We can tell. We've seen his arms in the promo pictures. We know. Paul said his comfort item or miss is a pillow. Oh, I do like a good pillow. His favorite show is Friends. Of course, Friends is hot at the time, and Amy says the same here. His favorite movie is The Godfather, which does make sense because Robert De Niro is his favorite actor. But with this, he sort of gives me Paul does give me a bit of Godfather vibes in a way. So I sort of get that. His favorite actress is Meg Ryan, and he likes rock and alternative music. While Amy's comfort item, alongside pillows, is music and a massager. Is it a neck massager? Is it a back massager? Is it a foot massager? What sort of massager? I need to know. She has lots of hobbies. She likes rollerblading and going to dance class and reading her emails. She has an AOL account. She has to plug in the modem. Remember AOL and the dial-up internet? Remember that? Her favorite movie, another one's Good Will Hunting, and her favorite actor is Robert Downey Jr. And her favorite actress is Julia Roberts, Pretty Woman herself, icon. And her favorite her favorite music is R&B. I wouldn't have expected Amy to say R&B. I personally don't like that style of music. Everyone's for their own, but I just found it interesting. I just didn't expect it. So from that, Paul and Amy get a total of 11. They did really well on that, so they take over the lead. We then move on to Kevin and Drew. So Kevin and Drew met in 1984. They're of course frat brothers, as we know, and they think this is an unbelievable opportunity for two guys to go anywhere where you need a passport. They've been both very competitive and feel that it'll be a sure nice way to win $1 million. Kevin's comfort item will be Pepsi. I like that one. By the way, these answers are just out there, and I sort of kind of live it. Um, the person he'd like to get a phone call from is Cindy Crawford. Once again, I like that answer because it's just stuff out there because like they're not taking sort of his bio stuff seriously. But I love it because that is his favorite actress. Seinfeld was his favorite TV show. I know that was big at the time. I'm not a Seinfeld person, but go on. And everyone who says The Godfather here, him and Paul might just have a conversation about The Godfather here because they both like Robert De Niro as well, and he likes rock and alternative music. While Drew, his comfort items are pizza, the internet, and his own bed. I can attest to all three of those, even though I've only recently become a pizza person. Internet and my bed are key for me. The Sunday paper he likes to read most often is the news. Doesn't go specific like those, just the news. His favourite TV shows Ally McBeal and NYPD Blue, which of course were big hot, well, quite hot at the time. He joins Kevin talking about The Godfather here, and his favourite music, none. He doesn't like any music. What if there was a musical challenge? That would just ruin him. Now they do get a total score of 7 here. They put in a good try here and did good alternative answers. It didn't quite work for them because they're currently last place, but I really liked that bite. It made me laugh and made me chuckle and really got to make me know that whimsical side of themselves. Next up is Rob and Brennan. Rob and Brennan became friends a few years ago when they worked at the same law firm in LA. They've had short trips together and usually in search of fun. I don't know what they mean by fun because you can take them any different ways. But it seems that because Brennan says he's an outgoing adrenaline junkie with a keen sense of direction, while Rob is organised, driven, and competitive. Rob's comfort item that he would miss the most would be music. And his hobby, he'll miss his writing and working out. Like, I want to know about this writing. Does he like write short stories or poems or novels? I want to know more about that writing. And of course, we look at him. Of course, he works out. He's another one who likes NYPD Blue. I don't know what I heard Rosie O'Donnell say that once. So I have to say it like that. Um, then also the X Files and Anthony Hopkins. Another interesting one. Anthony Hopkins is his favorite actor. Another one who says Julia Roberts. So point there. His favorite music's hard rock. The music, I think he's talking about the music or just like a hard rock. I don't know. Brennan, he also will miss music with a CD player or a DVD player. DVDs, remember DVDs? Oh, I'm feeling my age now. His favorite activity hobby would be he'll miss the most is surfing. like I get him. They've been in LA. I could see them as surfer dudes. If they're living in LA, but like just seeing him in like imaging him, like I just can't imagine him like riding the waves. But he is definitely a sports person and working out because he likes his favorite show is Sports Center, of course. So he must like follow like baseball, basketball, and his favorite movie is Star Wars. So no surprise, Harrison Ford is his favorite actor, and his favorite actress is Natalie Portman. That's the first one. That's just interesting. I like Natalie Portman, and he's another one who likes alternative music. And so Bob and Brennan, their total score is 8. They joined Joe and Bill. Well done, boys. Not the worst bio. Next up is Frank and Margarita. And when they were teenagers, a mutual friend introduced them, and they hit it off right away. They had fun traveling together because they've enjoyed learning about other cultures. And Frank says he's intelligent, level headed, and physically strong, while Marguerite is patient, intelligent, and has a keen intuition. So, of course, they have a baby girl, so I love their bio was like, I'm going to miss the baby girl. Frank says that he would like to receive a letter from his daughter if she could write, which, I went, oh, was my first reaction to that. That is adorable. The comfort item that he would miss would be beds with lots of pillows. His favourite TV show is Lonely Planet. Well, if it's thought of that with Frank, but go for that. His favourite movie is Scarface. Don't know if I should be concerned about that, but his favourite actor is Al Pacino. They are from New York, so I can sort of like see that in a way. And his favourite actress is Hilary Swank. It's interesting. I can't remember a Hilary Swank movie, but go with that. And I'm not surprised here his favourite music is hip hop. Because Margarita is the same. She likes also R&B and salsa music. I do like a good salsa. Don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about the chip dip. Uh, Margarita says that she'd like to receive a letter from her old friend in California, her old best friend. Not a family member, just a best friend. Because she does say in about missing her daughter, but and like a phone call or a letter, she's like, oh, my friends, which I found a bit interesting there. She likes Seinfeld and her favourite movie is Castaway. And so from their bio, I give them a total of 7.5. So not the best bio. We then get Kim and Leslie. And Kim and Leslie met when they became roommates 4 years before. Since then, they've been single teachers and have travelled together many times. So Leslie is left-brained and Kim is right-brained apparently. And they share the motto work hard, play harder. We'll take that, whatever you believe that to be. Kim, her item that she'll miss from home will be a bed. She's no one who doesn't want the Sunday paper. She likes Friends and likes Brad Pitt and Julia Roberts. I agree with all those. But her favourite, another one likes alternative music. Was alternative music big in 2001? I don't know. Leslie's comfort item from home is another one says the bed. Her favourite show is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Ooh, with VJS. Favourite movie is Notting Hill. I can see that. Matt Damon and everyone says Julia Roberts. They love Julia Roberts in this cast. Her favourite music is Spanish music. Ooh, I do love some good Spanish music. There's some Spanish music that just does not work, but then some that I can really get into. And so their total score is 12. They're in the lead. A good bio there from Kim and Leslie. Now, Lenny and Karen, they were introduced by a mutual friend in a New York City basketball game 2 years before. They'd done some traveling together and found the experience laid back and relaxing. I don't think this experience will be the same. I have a hunch. They said they're both very competitive and they have complementary strengths. Karen is aggressive, focused, and organized, while Lenny's patient and athletic. Let's get into the questions. Lenny says that his comfort at home is his music. And a different TV show here, Oz, which gets half a point here. The other one was The Sopranos, which I forgot about The Sopranos, but it's okay. But they got half a point for Oz here. Oz was a good show. I've watched it a few times. His favorite actor is Samuel L. Jackson, and favorite actress is Lynn Whitfield, which I wasn't actually familiar with Lynn Whitfield. I know of, I think her sister's Kim Whitfield. I love Kim Whitfield. So I like Lynn as well because I've looked at some of her work, and Lenny has quite a few favorite music types here: R&B, jazz, hip hop, salsa, and gospel. Like salsa to hip hop, like two totally different genres there. While Karen, she says that the comfort item that she'll miss would be a yellow blanket that her mom knitted for her. Another one that went, oh, that's just so precious. Her favourite TV show is Sex in the City, which I don't know why from the personality I got from seeing her on the show initially, I wouldn't have thought her would be Sex in the City. I thought maybe either Kim or Leslie might have said Sex in the City, but we do go for it. And hey, Carrie Bradshaw, her favourite actor is Denzel Washington. I think she might have a crush on Denzel. And another one it says Julia Roberts here. And the favourite music R&B and gospel, just the same as Lenny there. And so their total score is 8.5. Right in the middle of the pack there, so well done there. The last team is Dave and Margaretta. And in 1959, young Air Force pilot Dave saw Margaretta across a crowded nightclub and begged his friend to introduce them. 40 years later, they've pulled a lot of miles together through traveling and flying planes. David is adventurous and an eternal optimist, while Margaretta hates to be left behind and enjoys keeping up with Dave. And Dave's comfort item that he'll miss the most is nothing, which, like, if he's with Margaretta, he might say that hers his comfort item. I think, like, I'm trying to win points here, but the fact that like there's nothing you'd miss, like, I was a bit surprised about that. And he loves flying the most. If he'd receive a call from anyone, he would want it to be from NASA with a spot in the space shuttle. He dreams big. He dreams big. His favorite show is the History Channel. It's not a show. It's a channel. It's a network. But I wouldn't want to sit all day watching the History Channel. He is someone who likes Meg Ryan and likes country western music. And Margaretta wants to get a letter from President Bush. But, you know, to get a letter from the president, come on. The comfort item should miss was a total bathroom facility. I'm thinking it's like bathroom, like comforts. Like I know my bathroom, like I know it's clean, and I'm gonna be fine. Not having to like go to some of these like less maintained toilets. She also will miss flying, but as a pilot, she makes it clear there. Her favorite TV show is Alec Beale, and her favorite actor is Mel Gibson. Oh, how Mel Gibson has changed. And her favorite actress is Michelle Pfeiffer, which I found interesting there. I haven't heard that name in a while. And her favorite is 60s and 70s sounds. She likes that little retro music there. And so the music she grew up with, and I like how she's kept that going. So their team score is 11. So right there with Paul and Amy. So congratulations to Kim and Leslie. But you are the winners. You, to me, have the best bio, while Kevin and Drew have my least favorite bio was 7. But like I enjoyed Kevin and Drew's bio. I still quite enjoyed it. I laughed and it made me smile. And so it doesn't mean that I'm gonna hate Kevin and Drew on the show. It was just that their bio wasn't the best. And doesn't mean I'm gonna like Kim and Leslie. I don't know. But it was fun reading these and seeing answers. Some of these answers were really interesting here. And so now we've got to know a bit more about them. Let's see how they're raised. So let's get straight into the episode recap. So after looking out at the bios, my three top teams right now are Robin Brennan, Dave and Margaretta, and Kevin and Drew. They're my top three at the moment. They might change, but just like seeing like the bios, seeing them on screen, my instincts of those three, they're my top three. And we all see now them all standing up the starting line. Usually I would do my fashion segment. It's fashion or haute couture, where I go over their fashion looks. But this is the first season. They're just all like in their normal clothing, like in their winter clothing. So I'm not going to do that this time, but I will in future editions. And so then Phil gives them the typical spiel about what to expect, and he advises them to conserve their money. This will come key very soon. And then he says, go. And they run up the stairs, open their clue to find out they're heading to Johannesburg, South Africa. And teams can only travel on one of three flights: the Alitalia 605 flight, Swiss Air 101, and South African Air Flight 202. And it's first come, first serve. The South African Air flight can carry up to 5 teams. Swiss Air can carry 2 teams, and 4 teams can go on the Alitalia flight. Now, in the clue though, it doesn't tell them which airport to go to. So that causes the first big fiasco. Now, we then cut to the title sequence, the classic original title sequence where Phil talks over the intro, and we get a few like spoilers of different places where the teams go and them doing tasks. Yes, that happens, and I know there was a lot of outrage because like people are like, oh, we know this team's gonna stay because we see them in a different location, and I get it, and they change it for future seasons, but I still like this title sequence. We then go straight back into action, and Dave and Margaretta are the last to leave the starting line, and Margaretta complains about being slow, bless her. And Matt and Anna, they go to the subway to try and use a payphone here. A lot of them use a payphone, including Paul and Amy, and Kevin and Drew, because they want to phone the airlines to try and see, which airline, which flight's the best. And Paul and Amy here, they debate money very quickly because Paul wants to make sure that they get at the subway so they save a lot of money. But Amy's like, I want to go, go, go. And Paul also wants to make sure he gets on the South African air flight. Pat and Brenda here, they're heading towards Times Square. I think this is because there is a known subway station here, and a few teams do go through the Times Square subway station. But also, I feel like it's popular. There's a lot of like theaters there, so it's easier to get a taxi at that point. Nancy and Emily, we see them in this building, and they're going for the phone book. Remember phone books? Remember them? Like, oh, they said about the yellow pages. And so Nancy, she's reassuring Emily that everything's gonna be fine. Emily's just worried about them being eliminated. And then Nancy looks at the camera and says, won't we? Like, won't we be fine? And like she's looking over at the cameraman and the sound guy, trying to have them like give reassurance that, everything will be fine. And the cameraman here, he goes in real close into Nancy's face. Like I'm shocked I didn't see any pause. Like it was getting right in her face there. And Vanka Margaret, Margarita are another one. He phones up to see which flight we're getting sooner, and all teams sort of quite realise quickly that they need to go to JFK because they were choosing going between JFK and LaGuardia, and the Guidos pretty quickly knew that it was JFK. And so Frank says that Margarita has it her way or the highway, or it's my way or the highway, and we never get past that point. And then in the taxi, Frank is joking with Margarita as he asks her, "Who's the boss?" And Margarita's just laughing at it. And there's that, because of course Margarita begrudgingly says he is. When he said "Who's the boss," I was thinking about that sitcom "Who's the Boss." That's what I thought of. Anyway. We then go to those on the subway, and Matt and Anna are on the train. And Matt saying he doesn't want to be the first to get eliminated. Foreshadowing here. And Anna says that they doubt there will be because they're going to win. Oh, Anna. And also here, I've noted that Anna is sort of, now we know that they're sort of from, I believe, Connecticut, but she does have like a Boston accent. It's very Boston how she sounds to me. Now, I don't know if it's accurate and people might get me, but it sounds a bit Boston. We then get Amy here, and she's already getting paranoid. She's getting paranoid that the train they'll get on will go in the wrong direction. And they do actually get on the right train, but then they get off too early. And so she moans that they should have took a cab instead. And Paul says, "We both have short fuses and we're both stubborn, and I'm sure we're going to get into it before this is over." Oh, yes, you will. Very quickly. And a lot. We then head to JFK and the South African Airways counter. Joe and Bill are the first to arrive, but it isn't open just yet, so they get first in line. And in comes then Frank and Margarita, and Frank is pissed. He is not happy that they're second to the counter. He is someone who's very competitive and wants to get first, and mocks Joe and Bill for their matching outfits. And like, oh, look at them, like the Guidos. He doesn't call them the Guidos, but he just makes fun of them. I have a son here. Do you notice that they have like these like lanyards around them with the yellow string? I think it's say, "Oh, we're part of this production." This is the only season we see that, and like, I just wanted to note that because it's different. Like, we never see this again. Like, sort of from a different season, like this like yellow robe like lanyard they have. We then get to Ron Brennan. Their cab ride costs $38 and they give $40. So they ask the cab driver to give them their $2 change, and it apologizes for not being able to send the change as a tip, but they just can't. Which I'm like, being from the UK, we don't really tip. Like, I've tipped once, a taxi driver once, and that was because they were absolutely hilarious. Made me laugh so hard. But we're not really tippers, and so it was just interesting to see how much of the like he was so apologetic about not being able to tip. We then get Kim and Leslie. They're nearly at the airport in their cab, and so they're heading to Swiss Air. But then they decided they wanted to go to Alitalia, and so that confuses the driver. The driver doesn't know what to do, so he still goes to Swiss Air anyway. We then go back to the airport, and at Air Italia, Amy learns that 5 other teams have booked flights already. I'm assuming that is at the South African flight, and she is not happy. And Paul reiterates about, oh, like, we're saving money here. They spent about $60 on cabs. We spent like $3 on the subway. We're better off because we're saving money. We then see the first flight take off, which is the South African air flight, which contains Frank and Margarita, Joe and Bill, Lenny and Karen, Pat and Brenda, which we haven't really seen much of Lenny and Karen, Pat and Brenda, and Robin Brennan. Leslie and Kim and Leslie and David and Margareta are on the Swiss Air flight, and Leslie says she can't believe that 5 teens made it to the airport before they did. And Margareta is just happy to be in the middle of the pack right now. We then see the third flight, Alitalia flight, and which holds the last 4 teams: Kevin and Drew, Matt and Anna, Nancy and Emily, and Paul and Amy. And they've sort of resigned themselves to knowing that they are in the back of the pack, and one of them will be the first to go. We then see Phil. He's explaining about the route markers, which in Series 1 were yellow and white for the Series 1, and we don't see that until the Family Edition, because then they change it to, the typical red and yellow, and of course we know they do yellow and white when they go to Vietnam. But also, there's no clue boxes. The traditional clue boxes that we know today, they just had like pots, which is interesting as well. So once they get to Johannesburg Airport, they find the travel guide, and the clue tells them they need to go to Lanseria Airport and find the Ryan Blake Air charter meeting room and sign up for charter flights. And so Joan Bell and Robin Brennan are the first to leave the airport and get into their cab, and Frank and Margarita are not far behind. And so there's a whole thing about Frank wanting to get ahead of Robin Brennan and overtakes them in the taxi, and Frank and Margarita arrive at Lanseria Airport, and only to find out that Joe and Bill have already got there first. And guess what? He's pissed, and they are not happy. He's not happy at all, and it makes it very obvious about this. And Ron Brennan then get there, and they bump into Margarita. And once again, they apologise very profusely to Margarita for just knocking her with her bag, which wasn't a pure accident. Aren't they sweet that they just like apologise at every second? If they keep apologising, though, I will have to bump them down in ratings. So we see the first 3 teams book their flights, and then they stay overnight for a 6 a.m. charter flight the next morning to a mystery location. And my question is, we don't see the other 2 flights come in, and we don't see anyone else booking for charter flights. I'm like, what's happened to Lenny and Karen and Pat and Brenda? They were on the first flight. I was on the next charter flight. How many people get in that charter flight? I don't know. That's sort of the mystery I want to know. So we then get Phil here, and it's at the pit stop, and he tells us that it's at the Songwe village, and this is where teams will end up at the end of the leg. We then find out the teams are in Livingston, Zambia, and once they get out the airport, they find that they can either self-drive or hire a driver, and the driver I charged about $50, and this is from the driver that we see Robin Brennan get. I don't know about the other drivers. I don't know their daily rates. So then, as the other teams are reading their clues, we hear Frank just scream at Margarita to read the clue faster. And also, something to know here, the cameramen are sitting in the back seat. And we see this in season 1 only, that whenever they're self-driving, that the cameraman and Sangha are in the back, which we don't see again. That's just a point of reference here. We then have the teams, because the clue tells them they need to head to the overlook known as Knife's Edge. And we see a mixture of people self-driving and those with a driver. Joe and Bill hire a driver, as well as Frank and Margarita. Robin Brennan, they self-drive. Well, and they're leaving. The next flight comes in. Lenny and Karen and Pat and Brenda on flight 2. Flight 3 has David and Margareta and Kim and Leslie. And the final 4 teams are on charter 4, so not really any changes from their initial flights. And as the final group are leaving the airport, Nancy's just running around lost. Apparently, she went to the bathroom and was trying to ask a lady in the bathroom for directions. apparently. And as they're driving, Amy figures out very quickly that they're going to Victoria Falls because in the clue it says about roaring thunders, and so she got that. Well done, Amy. Worked out the clue there. Well done. And so we see a segment here of them just trying to overtake each other over the road, especially the teams at the back. They know they're at the back, and it's sort of like Paul and Amy here overtaking and just trying, and Kevin and Drew just trying to get ahead. And then we see here the famous bridge running scene at Knife's Edge here. And of course, we flash back to it when we get to season 27 when they do the switchback. We see it running over the bridge, the famous scene of Kevin Drew doing this. And so it's weird because they do this in a bit of a weird order where like Kevin and Drew seem like the third team to arrive at the clue box. Sorry, the clue pot, but really they weren't because they were sort of the back of the back. But we do get Frank and Margarita getting the clue first, and they're told that they can either go to Batoka Gorge or they can take the Fast Forward Award. And Joe and Bill here, they're saying how they want to stay ahead of Frank. And then Kevin and Drew, they get into an argument here because Drew decided to take the time to purchase a guidebook from a local, which I don't know if it will help him later in the leg, but like Drew was trying to be quite curious to his locals, and Kevin was just trying to be go, 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 go. We then get the Fast Forward Award here, and we find that they have to trek down to the boiling pot and down a very sort of steep path to get the Fast Forward Award. And Dave and Margareta and Robin Brennan are the ones to go for it. Robin Brennan get there first. And Dave and Margareta, who had help from a few locals help getting down, are quite disappointed. And Dave says that he feels dumb. Like, I really felt for them here. And because Robin Brennan, even themselves said, this was tough. It took all their energy to make their way down here. And the fact that Dave and Margareta made their way down, and it was silly because they had to go over some very slippery rocks. Like, well done to them. Like, honestly, that was props to them. That was really courageous for them. We then get Rob and Brennan as they're making their way to the pit stop. They buy some stuff off some local kids, and they said they wanted to show that they're good ambassadors and show appreciation while they're in someone else's country. And they said they make the kids feel good. Bless them. Earning brownie points. We then Bill giving us this status of play, how things are going. And we know that Rob and Brennan then first, they're heading to the pit stop after getting the Fast Forward Award. Followed by Joe and Bill, Frank and Margarita, Lenny, Karen, and Pat and Brenda, Kim and Leslie, Dave and Margareta, they're down in 7th. Nancy and Emily, Matt and Anna, Paul and Amy, and Kevin and Drew are in last right now, which sort of no real changes there. Drew stops to get directions to Batoka Gorge, and Kevin and Drew once again begin arguing over how long they've taken to get directions and how vague the directions have been getting, and then they stop and pull over again to get some better directions. And this is not looking good for Kevin and Drew at the moment. We then get Joe and Bill first of the detour, which is choice between land or air. In air, teens have to zipline and then swing down to the bottom of the gorge. And in land, teens will have to take the long way round and the steep path down to the bottom of the gorge. And everyone chooses air here. Margarita is worried we see a panic because she doesn't want to bungee jump, even though they're not bungee jumping, they're swinging. And she does get a lot of encouragement from the instructors and from Frank, and she does it, so yay. We also find out here that they have a 16-month daughter, which I didn't know how young their daughter was, But I think this is a key part of the story, knowing sort of how young the daughter is and sort of why they're wanting to remend their relationship for her because their daughter is so young. We then get another Paul and Amy segment here. They're lost again, and they argue over taking a turn onto a road earlier. And apparently, Amy says that she told Paul to do that earlier and that he wasn't listening. And Amy just says that they're done. Like, she's finished. Well, if they're finished, they've got a long way to go. We then get the pit stop here at the Songway Village, and they're told that the last team to check in will be out of the race. Not eliminated, will be out of the race. And of course, Rob and Ben check in first after winning the pass forward. We then see Pat. She says that she's a little bit scared to do the air detour. And Leslie says she's not good at holding things up. Interesting there. We then get to the back teams of Matt and Anna, Kevin and Drew, and Paul and Amy. They're still struggling with directions. And Matt is frustrated that a landmark, like a gorge, no one knows where it is. And they go to petrol stations to find out, all this information, and locals have no clue, which they should really, because it's sort of a big landmark. We then get Amy. She wants to do the air detour, but Paul is slightly protesting. And Amy says, Paul, make a decision. What do you want to do? But Paul's too slow, so Amy makes the decision for him and saying, we're doing air. And so Paul is insistent at that point that they're in last place, so what's the point? And so they do the zip line, and while they're doing it, Amy is moaning to the instructors of how Paul took them in the wrong direction, as we saw earlier. And so they get past the zip line, and at that point, Paul finds out about the swing, and we find out Paul is apparently afraid of heights, and he just doesn't want to do it, and doesn't want to be a puss. Nancy is quite in glee when she sees that Paul doesn't want to do it. She's very gleeful. Because we know Nancy and we do not want to go first. And Matt is reassuring Anna here, we're gonna make it through this detour. Amy is celebrating and not being in last place when she sees Matt and Anna come down the zip line. And then when they leave the detour, Amy gets on Paul's back and they give a piggyback ride. They're very happy. Their relationship is mended for a few seconds. And as they're leaving, Nancy and Emily talk about how they like Paul and Amy, and Nancy calls them precious, but in a Southern accent, and we know what that means. Darling, they're precious. Bless their hearts. No, I actually do think they generally like them, but it was just funny when she calls them precious. We then get Anna, and she calls Matt a moron, of course. They're struggling with directions here, and she says, once a moron, always a moron. And Matt says, you fell in love with this moron. And so it's not looking good for them. And then we get to what we don't see on the show is that there was an unaired roadblock. And this saw a team member having to cook an ostrich egg. And both team members then had to eat the egg. And Margareta, Frank, Joe, Drew, Kim, Karen, Matt, Emily, Pat, and Paul all did this roadblock. And if you want to see it, it was in the season 1 DVD footage. That's how we sort of know about it, because it was in the extra uncut DVD footage. And Pat and Brenda, as they were heading to the pit stop, I saw the slight red roadblock glue as they were heading to the mat, which sort of let me know that there was a roadblock there. And we get more placements here. We get Joe and Bill in second, Frank and Margarita in third, Lenny and Karen in 4th, Pat and Brenda in 5th, Kim and Leslie in 6th. Margarita's unsure whether things between her and Frank will work out. And Dave and Margareta finish in 7th, Paul and Amy in 8th, and Margareta's very proud of her comes through the day and what she's gone through so far. And Paul says he hopes this increases his and Amy's relationship and nothing will stop them then. We all know what happens next, don't we? We see Kevin and Drew in 9th and Nancy and Emily in 10th. And Nancy's saying that she's having the best time of her life and this is the most exciting thing she's ever done. It's then dark when Matt and Anna arrive at the mat and the Grim Reaper Phil, that's sort of what we know him from season 1 because we'd only see Phil with the teams at the pit stop and we knew if that happens that there was an elimination. And he's there to eliminate them. And they're grateful for the memories and the experience of the race, but I don't think they were happy to go first. And we're like, well, nothing we can do about it now, can we? And before we continue on, I just want to say that there was an additional unaired scene, but Joe and Bill apparently lost their passports at one of the airports, and they then found them in a guidebook. It wasn't aired because there was no pentaphone because they found the passports, but how did it get into a guidebook? Where was this guidebook? Did they already have the guidebook? Did they just accidentally place it in the guidebook? Or was it in a guidebook stand? I don't know. And so, before I eulogize the eliminated team, I'm going to go into another segment I call I Want It My Way, where I talk about what I would have done. So, if I was racing in this leg, I would take a cab because I know I would get to the airport faster and I would go back and forth with Subway because I know, especially from taking cabs in the UK, that, sometimes taxi drivers can rip you off and it can be very pricey. But I would still sort of choose a cab, especially early on, to cement what stage of the pack you are in. From the 3 flights, I would choose a South African flight. Now, I don't know what additional information they got about the flights, but no, but seeing like the realizing, oh yes, the other 2 flights, like those connecting flights, and South African Air was more direct. I would have gone with the direct flight because you never know with connections. And then self-driving or having a driver, I would, after hearing the amount of the driver, I would have self-driven. Of course, though I'm not able to drive due to a medical condition, I would have my teammate drive for me, and I would navigate. I prefer to navigate. And at the detour, I would have chosen the air detour as well. I would like the zip line. I would have been a bit nervous doing the swing, but I still would have done it. But I would have been quite nervous for it. And then I would have hated this roadblock. I think I would let my partner do it. One, because I'm not the best at cooking. Like when I'm cooking, I like instructions. But also, I don't like eggs, so I wouldn't know how to cook egg. So I would have let my partner do this roadblock. And it is now time for us to eulogize Matt and Anna in the race, and we'll do it right after this. Hey fellow race fans, I know you are the same as me and love talking about Amazing Race, and if you want to get something off your chest or want to ask any Amazing Race question, no matter what it is, you can send me it in the comments or send me an email at checkinchatpodcast@gmail.com and I might answer it in a future podcast. It's now time to memorialise Matt and Anna on the race in a segment I like to call We Were Rooting for You. We were all rooting for you. So Matt and Anna, they had some bad luck here. Of course, they took the train to start with. That was a slower transportation. All the cab people, of course, got there first. And they waited time with the phone books and calling up. And they ended up in the last group. And then I felt like once they were in the last group, I thought they were sort of starting to lose hope there, even though they weren't at the back of the back, like the very back in last place. But then when they started to get bad direction, which was another bit of bad luck here, that the locals, like, it's a landmark. They should have known where the gorge is because it's like a pretty big gorge. So they should have sort of known where that was. But the locals were just giving nothing to them. So that was another case of bad luck. And then I think additional directions because they got to the pit stop after dark, I think was the nail there because they were getting ahead of Kevin and Drew at the detour. So the fact that they didn't have good directions and I think they got lost. We didn't see it, but I think they majorly got lost to the fact that they got there after dark. Sealed their fate here, and it was just a case of bad luck. We didn't get to see as much of them. All we mainly saw of them was them sealing their own fate, saying, "Oh, I hope we're not the first to be eliminated." Would they have won? No, I don't think they would have won. I think they might have survived the next few legs, but I don't think they would have won. I feel like they were, even when they were near the back of the pack, that they weren't fighting for it. I felt like they just resigned themselves to the fact that back to back. I didn't feel they were truly fighting for it. I feel like their frustration over the directions just took over them. So I don't think they sort of had the continual drive and motivation to win. But and as we know, anything can happen on this race. We know that. So they could have, but I personally don't think they would have won here. And they were a good team. They were a lovely team. And we do know, though, after the race, they divorced not long after the race finished, and that in 2014, Matt engaged again. So this was the end of their relationship, which was the start of many on the course of the race throughout the seasons. And they are the first to leave. And then there were 10 teams remaining. And that is it for today's episode of the podcast. And if you enjoyed it, please give it a like and a subscribe on YouTube. And if you are listening on the audio version, please give it a good rating, 5-star rating. That would be very much appreciated. Helps me know that you like the podcast. And if you have any feedback or any questions about the Amazing Race you want to ask me and have answered in a future podcast, you can either leave it in a comment on the YouTube video, or if you're listening on the audio podcast, you can send me an email at checkinchatpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you all so much for watching and listening, and I will see you all next week. Bye bye.